How's it going, everyone? This is the long-awaited Volume 2 Despia test hand video that I talked about in my last one. I had originally wanted this video to come out actually last Friday. If you're seeing this, it's I think it's Friday the 2nd. I had wanted it to be last Friday around Thanksgiving, but I wasn't really happy with the overall video. I had made it around a similar time. I think the first one I made was just over an hour, and I wanted this one to be around that time as well. But when I had rewatched it, I wasn't really feeling like I did the deck justice. And so I wanted to kind of redo it. That's why this one took a little longer to come out. I'm more happy with this one. I did want to keep it a similar format to the last video where I do test hands going first, first uninterrupted, playing through hand traps and then going second and stuff like that. Last time I did like an equal amount of all of those in the video. This one's a little different, but I still wanted to kind of show off what this deck can do and kind of like where I see this deck right now, especially since the ban list fully went into effect today, I believe. So we're gonna be stuck with this list, for at least 3 months. So I figured this is probably the perfect time to have this profile come out. And kind of give like a good basis of where this deck stands right now and how we can improve this deck for the next 3 months or so, because we're probably going to be stuck in this format for that long. I don't see an emergency ban list coming out anytime soon. So I hope you all enjoy the video, and I will leave timestamps down below if you kind of want to skip around to certain areas. I tried to leave tips throughout the video for those of you who watch a majority of the video at certain parts, so you guys can kind of like learn some important key things that I think are worth knowing when it comes to playing this deck. So I hope you all enjoy it and enjoyed the video. Alrighty guys, so this will be the first test hand. So what I'm thinking we do here is we just kind of go first uninterrupted. We won't worry about playing through hand traps yet or going second, just to kind of get the feel of like what I envision this deck to do with the Bystial cards and stuff like that. So we'll keep it simple to start. So let's shuffle this up. Alrighty, cut that. All right, let's see what we can get here. So we have a Super Poly and a Luber, another Luber, an Albaz, and a Cartesia. Alrighty, so let's see. Well, good thing this is a very, very interesting hand. Good thing we're going up, uninterrupted, because we do lose to something hitting this Luber, but luckily, we didn't. So let's go Luber. We'll grab Brand Infusion here. We will activate Brand Infusion, and we're going to kind of go the new traditional route, which I've been going. So we're going to send Albaz, and then we're going to send our other light targets, since we drew one, but we're going to send this anyway, no matter what. And we're going to summon out Albion, Albion effect. Here, what we're going to do is we're going to banish the Albaz. And then this is kind of where we decide what we want to get rid of here. So I was thinking we could banish the other Albaz or the Luber in our hand. Of course, we have this one on field. The only reason I would say maybe keep this one on field is if you're thinking, if you're trying to play around like a hand trap on this, you could just activate Super Poly to get rid of those to dodge like an Imperm or a Veiler. But let's just keep it like super simple. Let's just say we get rid of this and this, just for this example's sake. So we'll banish those. We'll summon the Lubellion effect. We will pitch for this. We'll just, Cartesia is probably the best option because we'll just recur it. We don't really have to worry about summoning it right now. I'd rather just keep the card advantage anyway and just have this come back. And then we'll put this back, the Albaz back, and we'll summon the Mirror Jade. So next what we're going to do is open game state. We're just going to summon this. We're going to activate effect. We are going to place the continuous trap. And then this is what we will do. We'll have a set Super Poly, a trap, and then in our end phase. So usually going in blind, yes, we can set red, but usually what I've been doing is, even if I didn't get interrupted on my turn, I've been prioritizing banishment just for the tier matchup. It's up to you. If you're going in like super blind, I totally understand the argument of wanting to put red. And like I said, you could do whatever you want because you have the monsters in hand too for like a Chimera play. But this is what I like. So basically, if you're not totally familiar with the deck, what we're looking at is in our end phase, we're getting this, which will be excellent follow-up and another discard off the Super Poly. We're gonna have our Albion set for red or banishment. So what this will turn into is you'll be targeting this, summoning this. Depending on what your opponent is playing, you're either gonna pseudo Super Poly their board while also banishing their cards, which is very important, which is why I like this card and prioritizing this card more this format, or just summoning this and summoning your own, Dragos Depalia or whatever. We do have a line for Super Poly play where we can just pitch this, summon something out like a Dragos Depalia, like I was saying, or something else. Totally depends on the matchup. And the cool thing is we'd most likely be getting a fusion in the grave again, so that way that end phase as well during our opponent's turn we'll get back the Cartesia. And then we also have a beast play, which is really nice, where we can just send this and then pop a card on our opponent's field. So luckily we don't have to worry about Mystic Mine anymore, but if we did get hit with some other like weird floodgate, or maybe our opponent didn't open very optimally and then they just set a couple cards and passed, we are able to just pop that. And then of course we have a Mirror Jade, which in whatever scenario matters, we can either send an Albalenitus or another Albion and kind of go from there. The cool thing though sometimes is because we do this first, or I've been doing that first, if we wanted to, we could just send another one of the Albions and then have a red set, so that way when it's our turn again we're playing, we already have that way to kind of dodge interruptions. But yeah, so that's one of the things we could do. Alrighty, so for this we're going to be going first uninterrupted, and just kind of go from there. I'm hoping to have like a specific sort of hand because I really want to show you guys some cool plays, but I also don't want to like make my own hands beforehand because I do want this to be kind of off the cusp and stuff like that. So hopefully we get the combo I'm looking for soon. We almost do. Okay, this is actually cool. So this hand looks really weird, but this is we have a ton of options. Okay, so there's a lot of different things we can do. So if you saw my list, you can already tell that the first thing I'm thinking in my head is what I want to pitch off opening, because at first glance, obviously you'd want to pitch Tragedy, but we do, because of the version I'm playing, have the option to pitch the Sarnier and pitch the Trap, which can get us another spell or something like that. So let's try and do like a spicy play. So let's see what we can do here. Let's go opening. We'll say draw phase opening. We'll pitch. Let's grab a Luber. Oh, sorry. We'll summon out a Luber. We're going to go a Luber 1, Sarnier 2. Off a Sarnier, we will pitch the Retribution. And then off the Luber, we will grab the Branded Fusion. All right. So what's really cool is this is a way that we have pseudo access to the hand that I actually wanted. So what we do now is we activate Albion, pitch for cost, and what we're going to do here is we're actually going to send Lost here. This will go to the bottom of our deck, and then we'll draw a card. So we'll shuffle this up. Let's see what we get. And we'll draw one, so we draw an Albaz, doesn't matter. What we're going to do is we're going to banish Retribution, and we're going to add Lost to our hand. So now we have the combo that I really wanted. So we're going to activate Lost. We're going to activate... do I want to do that? Yeah, we'll activate Brand of Fusion here. So what I'm going to send here is... I do want access to the other Lubellion. I want access to the Trap, I should say. So what we're going to do is we're going to send the Lubellion, and we're going to send the Albaz. So we're going to send these two cards. So we're going to go for an Albion here. All right, so we're going to go Albion. We're going to go Chainlink 1 Albion, Chainlink 2 Lost. What we're going to grab off Lost is the Mercurier, because we're still playing that. And now this is the option. This is where you really have a bunch of options here. Normally there are plays where you could banish the Mercurier and the Albaz to summon out the Lubellion, and then you'd have Chainlink 1 Lubellion, Chainlink 2 Mercurier, and Mercurier would search you the baby Albion from the deck. Or, I mean, we could search the Cartesia, but With this hand, because we have the tragedy and we hadn't used it yet, I think this would be far better of a route. So I would banish Albaz here and tragedy for a Lobelion play. I go Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. Here, obviously, we're discarding the Albaz because the other two cards are far more important. What I would grab here is... See, now, depending on what you grab off Tragedy, that's going to... You kind of have to think what you want to set first off the Albion that's going to be in your grave at the end phase, because that'll determine what you want your search to be. Because if we set red... if we're going in blind, to be honest, I think I would go... If we're going in blind, I'd probably prioritize this. I think that's fair. So we'll do that. So we'll put this back, and then summon out our Mirror Jade. Alrighty, so next what we have is we're going to summon out the Lobelion by tributing the Albion. We're going to activate its effect, and we're going to place the trap from our deck to face up. So I assume most of you already know what this card does. Just as a reminder, it's basically a pop. So if we have basically during the main phase, which is really important because people forget that, and even I forget that. If we control a Bystial monster, in this case we do, we contribute one dragon, any other dragon, and then target one card our opponent controls and pop it. And then it has an end phase effect where it can place a branded continuous spell or trap from our grave to our field during the end phase. So, so here's kind of what we're looking at right now. Let's say we proceed to end phase from here. Again, this is where it's going to come up to your personal preference on what you'd like to place. While I do like making these test hands against like the Tier Shizu deck, that I would place Banishment personally. But if you if you already know what your opponent's playing or something like that, you could set red. And there's an argument for both. The argument for this is it's just infinitely better against the Tier Shizu matchup because banishing their cards is so important. And we already have a setup which is just incredible right now. This would, in my opinion, this would kind of guarantee us the win. The argument for red right now in this case would be if you don't know the matchup and you kind of just want to be a little more safe with it because... watch, let me break this down to kind of explain. So right now, if we passed on this and we had red, what this allows us to have is we have a Mirror Jade set up. We have a pop of anything. We have a Chimera play where we could activate red, grab the Albaz, and then we, let's just say we banish, this, the Dramaturge Albaz, summon the Chimera, and go from there. Which would be an incredible play because then we'd have Chainlink 1 Chimera, Chainlink 2, and then Chainlink 3. So we'd probably search either the Cartesia or the Baby Albion from the deck, which is an incredible play in and of itself. And then we'll have the follow-up off the Mirror Jade because we'll activate that effect. If we did the other route where we had this, what we're looking at right here is same thing. We're going to have a pop. Banish of any monster. We won't have a way to summon out this Dramaturge, unfortunately. We will still have the Sarnier and the Mercurier, but what we will have is we can if our opponent's on Tier Shizu, we let them extend just a tiny bit, not anywhere where we're letting them get away with too many things, but we have a play where we do summon this and then banish whatever they have, and depending on how far we let them get, there is a chance that we could use 2 of their monsters for our own Dragostapelia or something like that while banishing the materials, which is a huge deal. And even if we don't, we could just banish, our own Albion and one of theirs for our Dragostapelia or something like that. So it comes down to personal preference. If I was in a tournament, maybe I would prioritize the red line in that scenario. But if I know what I'm playing against, I usually like Banishment. And we also have to keep in mind, too, is like what's really cool about this hand is if our opponent is playing a deck with Bystials, obviously Bystials really hurt these cards because they just choose our target, and then this basically, doesn't resolve. But we do have this, so we do have a way to protect this so it does resolve, which is a really big deal. So, yeah, let's just get into the next one. Alrighty, guys, so I want to do one more going first test hand uninterrupted. I'm hoping we can get some different kind of plays to kind of show off here, because there are some really cool things. I really like that previous test hand because I got to show you guys like why Retribution is so nice, which I really like because that card's just insane. And maybe I'll talk about it again in another test hand. But let's see what we got here. So we have an Albaz, a Drewsworm. All right. So our only play really right now with this hand is going to be to summon a Luber and go from there. The cool thing, though, is even if we were going up against Shizu, they would have to draw some kind of disruption for the Aluber. Otherwise, we're just going to pop off, which they most likely don't even play right now, to be honest. So we're not really too scared about our Aluber not resolving. So we'll grab Branded Fusion here, activate Branded Fusion. Here we have a couple options. So normally I don't really go for the play of sending Tragedy Albaz anymore. And in this case, I feel like it comes down to player preference, like I mentioned in the last one. If you're going to send Tragedy and Albaz here and just go for the straight up Lubellion route, that tells me that you want to set up for a branded, for a red play on your opponent's turn, which is basically going to be a Chimera play. So this is where it depends what you want to do, is what you send right here. So if I'm sending a light target here, that means what I'm trying to do is set up the trap and go for that route, and have a Mirror Disruption on my opponent's turn right off the bat without summoning it back with oh my gosh, with the other, oh my god, I can't believe I'm spacing the name right now, without summoning it back out with the ad lib. So it really depends. So I guess we'll go the branded, we'll go the red line right here. We'll go the red line just to, I don't usually go with this line, but I think the last test I kind of showed you know, what I usually do anyway. So let's kind of do a hand that I don't always do, but there is definitely a place and an argument for this. So we'll go Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2. We will discard the Albaz, and we will grab this. So this play is pretty much how the deck used to, like the deck's go-to play these past several months before we got like the Bystials and all that. Because now what you're going to do is literally just activate Mirror Jade, send an Albion, banish the Aluber, and then you proceed to end phase, and what you have here is you'd want to set this. So there is no, I have no issue with this. In fact, so the arguments for playing this board are, if you want to play really conservatively, like even in a games like 2 or 3, if you're scared of like an evenly, well, mostly just like an evenly matched or something, then I have no problem going this route, because yes, you're going into it with a Mirror Jade Disruption that's already being used, so that it's kind of just sitting there. But you have to remember that not only we have a branded in red that gives us availability for a Chimera play, but we also have this protecting it from a Bystial. So that's what's really huge, is right now we're pretty much, our opponent would have to open like double Bystial right now. And honestly, that'd be fine because we still have 2 of our own. So I'm not even really worried. So let's just say, you know, we pass on this, our opponent's turn. Let's say they drew into a Bystial as their 6th card. They commit something to the board. We activate red here, targeting Tragedy. They activate their Bystial because we have a monster. We chain Armor Courier to negate that. And so what we have here is this, where now we have a traditional Chimera play that I'm sure most of you are already, like, you know, well aware of. We summon this out, and basically what we're sitting on Chain Links is we're going 1, I'm using 2 Tragedy, 3 Adlibs targeting the Mirror Jade. We summon back out the Mirror Jade. Tragedy gets us, I would probably get an Aluber here for follow-up. And then we pop 1 card with the Chimera, and then we draw 2. So let's see what our draws would have been. Let's see how nice we are. Nice. Okay, so that's actually really good. And right now we're still sitting on a Mirror Jade activation, which can either send us this. If I don't, depending on what we're going against. I mean, honestly, this probably won us the game regardless, even if we're going up against Shizu, because we do have these in our hand and a banish. So we did probably already win the game, but let's just say they opened up some incredible combination of cards. Their mills are insane or something like that, and it does go to a grind. This is where it matters kind of what you send. If we wanted to, the reason we would send the Albion would just be so we would have this set. So we would have the banishment set, so we could do something like off the cusp and like play around a disruption. Because if their hand was cracked enough to get through all of this, then they're probably ending on a disruption or two. So we do have this as like I hate to use the word quick play option, but like a proactive and defensive option instead of just searching the brand diffusion. But let's say we did just want to straight up search the brand diffusion itself. We could just send this instead, grab the brand diffusion or something like that. And then we can use our opening to summon out probably like summon out another name like Dramaturge or something like that and have another disruption. So yeah, this was a pretty good hand. Usually I don't go the Lubellion route straight off the bat, but with this hand, that I think that line was actually perfect, and that's how that hand should have been played. So I'm happy with that. All right, everybody. So for this test hand, as you can see, I already have my hand out, and that's because I recorded a test hand where I drew this hand, and then I found out it didn't record. But I like this hand and kind of like the uniqueness of it because I had never drawn these 3 one-ofs before, especially both light targets that I play in the deck. So I thought that was kind of cool. So I did want to redo it and kind of show you guys. But what I will do is I also decided, rethinking it, is that I'll show 2 variations of this exact hand of what you could do, because originally I wanted to play through an imperm going first, and so I'll show you that first, but then I also want to show you playing through or not getting interrupted, because we actually end on an insane board if this hand went uninterrupted. So what we'll do first is we'll play through just an imperm. So obviously with normal Luber first, our opponent would have to imperm here. Well, they wouldn't have to, but they would run a risk not. And I think it's fair because you can never really assume that your opponent or that we would have a Luber and Brand Diffusion. So let's just say they imperm the Luber. I'd probably activate Lubellion next. What I was thinking originally was grabbing the where is it? The Serenir. And so what we would do next is we would activate Brand Fusion. We would send our Albaz and then the Cartesia in our hand. And what we would do is we would summon out our Albion. So we go Albion effect, and what we'll do is we banish the Albaz and the Aluber, and we'd summon out Lubellion. Next we go Lubellion effect. We'd pitch the Serenir. If you knew your matchup, you could technically pitch this, but for this example, I kind of wanted to pitch a Serenir just to show off some stuff. So then we resolve this, put the Albaz back in the deck, and then what we do is we summon our Mirror Jade. So new chain, we trigger the Serenir. This is, okay, so this is kind of where like it kind of would be up to you, but it kind of shows an interesting situation that we're in. So we could send Retribution, which would be able to get us back the Brand Diffusion for follow-up for our next turn. But what we also could have done, or what we also could do, is we could send one of our continuous spells. So we could send Lost, or we could send Regained. So what kind of sucks is it would have been nice if we had drawn one of these instead of this, because ideally you want to activate the trap off the Lubellion Engrave when you summon it out. On your turn 1, that way this is already face up, and then you can get its second effect to activate one of these from grave, because we would have been able to Foolish one. But unfortunately we drew this, so basically if you decided to Foolish one of these off the Serenir, you could kind of think about it like if you're playing the long game, because if this is sticking up through your opponent's end phase, then you would be able to activate one of these from grave. So we would activate one off the Lubellion, and then if it, like I said, if this lasts through our opponent's end phase, we could potentially activate the second one from our grave. So what we'll do in this situation is we will, for the example, what we'll do is we'll just send the Regained. And then next what we're going to do is we're going to summon out the Lubellion. We're going to go Lubellion effect, and we will activate the Lost. So next what we'll do is we'll proceed to end phase. So this will be, obviously this card would be set, but I'll keep it face up just for the example. We'll be getting back our Cartesia, and then we would be getting our banishment set off of Albion. So we'd have that set. And so basically what our end board would be looking like is we would have our Mirror Jade, we would have our Banishment, which would be crazy if, you know, we were playing against like Tier Shiza or something like that. We have a pop with Beast, and then as soon as we do successfully fusion summon a monster, we can activate Lost, and then we can grab our Mercurier, and then we would have another Disruption. So next, I want to show you guys if this hand went uninterrupted on that Aluber, because it would actually be insane. So let me show you guys what that would look like. Alrighty, so if that hand had gone uninterrupted, this is how it would have gone. So first, obviously, normal the Aluber. Off the Aluber, we would just grab the Lost right away. So we'd activate Lost, activate Branded Fusion. We would send our Albaz, and then we'll send... Actually, let's back up 1 second, because I do want to activate this first. So let's activate the Lubellion first. That's important. So we'll activate the Lubellion first, then get the Serenir. Then what we'll do is activate the Branded Fusion. So like I said, yeah, we'd send the Albaz, and then we'd send the Cartesia for our Albion. We'll go Albion effect, Chain Link 1, Chain Link 2, Lost. Off of Lost, we will grab our Mercurier, and then what we will banish off the Albion is our Albaz and our Aluber. We'll summon Lubellion, we'll go Lubellion effect, we'll pitch the Serenir, and we will shuffle back the Lubellion and the Albaz for a Mirror Jade. So new chain, what we have is we'll have Serenir effect, and what we can pitch here is we can actually pitch a Retribution here. So we'll send the Retribution. For our next play, what we're going to do is we're going to summon out the Lubellion. We'll activate Lubellion effect. And we will activate the Regained. Next, what we'll do is we'll banish the Retribution, and then we'll add the Branded Fusion back to our hand. So we'll set the Beast. I'll keep it face up, like I said, for the example. We'll proceed to end phase, and what we'll be having is Cartesia coming back to our hand, and then we'll have Albion resolving, and we will have our banishment set. So I thought this hand was kind of crazy because we basically have the full setup with these, and a banishment, and we'd already have a Mercurier in hand. So this would be just insane. So I've actually pulled this off a couple times where I happened to have like drawn one of these, and then I was able to pitch one off like Baby Albion and then set it off of Beast. I think twice I've had a scenario where I've had an end board of Lost, Regain, Beast, Banishment, and Red. I think that, yeah, like I said, I think that's happened like once or twice, which was just insane because, you know, this deck you never would have thought you'd have all your spell and trap zones like filled. But I thought this was just too cool not to show that this is a possibility. And there's, oddly enough, there's a lot of ways to at least get 2 on board too, because you're able to foolish the continuous spells and shit like that multiple ways. So as long as you don't draw a Beast and you're able to activate it off the Lubellion, you're able to place those face up during your end phase, which is really cool. So this end board's obviously significantly better. We have way better follow-up. We have our Cartesia, we have our Branded Fusion because we were able to send Retribution, so we already have that right off the bat. We still have our Banishment, targeting the Albion, summoning, you know, just depends on the matchup, what we're summoning out. We have our Mirror Jade, we have a pop-off Beast. We'd be able to trigger Regained, which would be insane. When we do fusion summon off the banishment, like I said, we would be able to get, we'd probably off Lost search, most likely, I would probably grab Baby Albion, and then of course we'd still have our Mercurier negate. So in reality, there's not really any deck that's gonna have like an easy time playing through this. So even if we did play against like Tier Shizu, like we're just so stacked on everything right now. Like this is almost impossible to beat. And if they did draw a hand that could get through all this, I mean, we'd have such insane follow-up that it most likely wouldn't even matter. So let's get into the next one. Alrighty, guys, so what I'm thinking we do next is we start doing some test hands going second and try and break a board now. So I basically kind of like made my own sprite board that I think would be kind of cool to try and play around. So basically, to explain these proxies, what we're looking at right here is we're looking at Elf, Toad, Smashers, Imperm, and then I think it's number 68, the Monster Negate. So in its entirety right here, what we have is a Monster Negate, a Banish of any card we have, an Omni Negate in Toad, and then we have Elf that could bring back Toad for another Omni Negate. So in its entirety, we have 5 disruptions. So we're going to see if our hand can break through this board and maybe even OTK. So we have a Mercurier, Beast, Sarnier, Super Poly, Allure, and we'll have a Magnuma. So we'll just assume for this that we held whatever Bystial we had in our hand, and we'll also assume that our opponent has at least 2 Darks Engraved, because if they're getting this far in their combo anyway, then they most likely have like a blue Jet and like, you know, an Xyz in their grave. So we'll assume that they have the dark targets for our Bystials. So right off the bat, we'll go to main phase. I don't think it's worth activating the Bystials right now. I can safely say that we can activate a lure first. We don't really have to worry about that being negated because it wouldn't make sense for them to Toad negate that right now. We'll draw 2. Oh, I wish it would have been nasty if we had this card in our hand before we activated a lure. We'll banish the Mercurier. We'll go Mercurier effect. There's no reason to negate this. Let me fix this a little bit for you guys. There's no reason to negate that. So what we'll do is we will grab our, because we just want to keep making our hand better. So we'll grab an Albion right here. What we'll do next is let's activate the regain, you know, just to see if, you know, bait something out. If our opponent's smart, they're not going to negate that. We'll activate the Albion. And what we'll do is we will send Retribution. And then there's no way they negate this. So we'll put that to the bottom and then we'll draw a card. So we'll shuffle this up. See what we get. We get a Brand Fusion, which is really nice. So now what we're looking at is, so now we can actually start, you know, kind of playing into the boards and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different things we can do here. So we could go Magnuma first and try and bait out a negate. I think whatever Bystial we activate first, I think our opponent's going to want to negate that with this. So let's say we activate Sarnier effect, target one of theirs engraved. They'll negate with this. We'll put that in defense just to kind of show it's being used. So this will be back in our hand, which is nice. Next, what we'll do is we will activate Magnamut, and we'll target one of theirs engrave. So it's kind of like iffy if our opponent wants to negate this, because they could also negate it on board and then negate it with the Toad and then take it. But the thing is it's kind of like that, or do they let this resolve and then they let us think that we're just going to go to battle phase and then they smashers this away, so we waste the battle phase. So honestly, I think the move might be just to Toad negate this right off the bat, because they might be thinking that we just want to keep drawing off regained. So let's say they negate this with the Toad. So they have Smashers, Imperm, and then Elf still, but they can't get the Toad back right now. And so what we could do here is this. We do have a way to, where we don't have to deal with the Toad at all anymore, where we could just set Albaz and then priority, activate Super Poly, pitch the Sarnier, and then make a Mirror Jade right off the bat like that. We could do that. And then basically what we would get rid of is this, and so we wouldn't have to worry about the Toad anymore. We just have to worry about Smashers and then the Imperm. And then what we could do after that is we could when we activate the Super Poly, we would pitch the Sarnier, and then Sarnier would be able to send us Lost to Grave. And then what we'd be able to do is we'd have Branded Fusion, we'd get the Lost back from Retribution and Beast. So we could just go from there and see what we could do. So let's try that play out. Let's try that play out and kind of see where it goes. So first, let's go like this. We'll set Albaz priority, activate Super Poly. What we'll do is we'll pitch this. We'll use their elf and our Albaz. And then what we'll do is we'll summon out our Mirror Jade. And so now right here, we activate the Sornier since it was sent to grave. Our opponent has to decide how they want to deal with this Mirror Jade. If they want to get rid of it right now or not. I am not positive if they want to activate that yet. Let's say they don't. So let's resolve this. What we'll do is we will send our Lost, as I was saying before. Or there is an argument, though, we could send red. There is an argument for that. So we could also send red and then activate our Branded Fusion. You know, send whatever. And then we probably have to go for like a... We could honestly make an Albion. But what's cool is we'd able to dodge like the imperm and stuff like that. Ooh, so that would be kind of crazy though. The argument for getting Lost though, which was my original thought, is we just activate that, activate Brand Fusion, and we just go from there. And then we don't care about the smashers at all. So we could do. Let's just go Lost. Let's go my original plan. Because I think at the end of the day, I think that might provide us more value. Excuse me. So we're sending Lost to grave. We're banishing Retribution to add the Lost to our hand. So at this point, you know, our opponent has a smashers. Right off the bat is once we activate Lost, I think they have to smashers, because if they have, you know, any kind of recognition of what's going to happen, of how the rest of the turn's going to go out, they're probably not going to get a chance to activate the smashers at any meaningful point. So what we could do is if they didn't activate at that point, as soon as we activate this card, it's basically like, are you going to activate these cards or not? So let's just say they smashers right away. So they banish one from grave, they'll banish the XVs, whatever. We'll chain the Mirror Jade, and we will send to grave the Albion. And what we'll do is we'll just banish this, basically our Magnamut. So they'll banish the Mirror Jade. We'll activate the Mirror Jade effect. They most likely won't have another body on board, but always activate that effect because you never know. And then last but not least, we're gonna activate Branded Fusion. And so I'm trying to think of the best way we can OTK through this. So let's send the Albaz, and then let us send our there's a lot of different things we could do here. I'm trying to think. If we had a light, we could go for a Lubellion. Is there a way we can do this? There might be. There might be a way we can do this. I'm just trying to do like quick math in my head. So what we could do is, the first option is we send a light right here. We could send Lubellion from deck, summon out Albion. Albion 1, lost 2. We'd add, let's just say, you know, whatever, Cartesia or something. We could banish our other Albion and an Albaz for Lubellion from the extra deck. Use the effect, shuffle back something else, and let's say something, do that, shuffle that back, summon out another Mirror Jade, then we activate we use the Lubellion in grave to summon. That's 5k. Okay, so that'd be exactly 8k. So this is the route we'll go. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna send Lubellion, and we're gonna go this route. Yeah, so I was just making sure we had a game. So we'll activate 1, 2. Doesn't really matter what we grab here. You grab another Alba. It doesn't really matter what you grab here. And what we're actually going to banish right here is we're going to banish this and this. And then we're going to summon a Lubellion. We're activate effect. We'll pitch the Cartesia. And what we're actually going to do is we're going to shuffle back the Mirror Jade that's banished, and then one of the Albaz that's banished. And we'll just summon out our Mirror Jade. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to summon out the Lubellion by tributing the Lubellion. And then we don't have any target to activate this, but it doesn't even matter at this point because this is exactly 8,000. 25, 25 is 5, and then 3. So at this point, we just go to battle phase, and then we attack for a game. So this was an interesting test hand. Probably going back, there might have been a way we could have played it slightly different, or at least better maybe. But I think with what we had, no matter what, we were getting to a point where we can break their board in OTK. So that's all that matters. And yes, they have an imperm here, but like I said, they're not able to imperm anything right now because of Lost. So it's basically just a dead card. So we don't really have anything to worry about. So I think that was a fun one. So let's get on to the next one. Alrighty, guys. So for this next portion of the video, what I originally had wanted to do when I envisioned making this test hand video was to kind of figure out a way I could do it to show how the Shizu tier matchup would be. And the more I kind of like sat down and thought about it, there's really no way to do test hands against that deck, frankly. I think every single time you play against that deck, it's going to be something new. There's not really like a go-to move or something like that. I think the best kind of way to get better against that deck is one, to learn the cards, and then two, kind of play against it a lot. And so I've played, that's mainly the deck I play against now. A lot of my friends are on that who are really competent with the deck. I've gone to a couple more tournaments where I play other people with it, and there is truly never a similar game. There's just so many like intricacies and all this stuff that it's not like any other meta deck where you can like you can do this choke point, that choke point, whatever. And so what I'm thinking of doing instead of like a test hand against that deck, since I think that's pretty much impossible without it turning into just like a match replay, which I think would be kind of good to watch. So, and you know, there's plenty of, you know, Yugi tubers who do, you know, matches with, you know, mirror matches with Tier Shizu and all that. So you can watch those. But like what I'm thinking is just like, we can do like discussions on like what I would do going first in certain scenarios and stuff like that. But I think it's really just a matter of basically like what I would do with certain test hands kind of a thing. Because I noticed the other day, I was like, yeah, there's just no use trying to like I could make an entire video that's 2 hours long of just like of just straight up like Yu-Gi-Oh matches against that deck, and I think that would be how you kind of like show what you're supposed to do with that deck. There's no way to like mimic a standard, you know, tier board, because they're usually so different, and you know, everyone goes for different stuff and different end boards and stuff like that. But I did play a couple more matches yesterday in real life, and so I kind of thought like maybe I'll just have a kind of like a discussion video about it. And so like one of the things I know is I'll kind of like show off the side again, and kind of like where my head's at. So this was the side I used yesterday. I basically I didn't have, in my original video, I didn't have these in. I put these in because I needed more Flunder hate. But basically, like what I've been doing as like a go-to side in like actual tournaments, you know, where time is involved and stuff like that, is I've been doing like 3 Shifter and like 3 Spooky Dogwood. Because the way I kind of look at it is with this deck is game 1 is going to determine literally the entire match. And what I mean by that is, depending on how long game 1 takes and depending on who wins, that usually, to me, that determines how the rest of the match is going to go. And so what I mean is like, I had a match that went almost 30 minutes, and I ended up winning against the deck. And at that point, it's just so ridiculous because in like normal circumstances, I'm thinking, oh, you know, what do I side against? What should I put in against Tier Shizu? Should I do this? Should I do that? But then you look at the clock and it's like, okay, well, I'm going to side these in along with the 3 shifters and we'll just go from there. And a lot of the time, like, it seems like, and it's not even like a slow playing thing. Like, a lot of the matches are really back and forth and they're like moving very quickly. But when you're playing a deck that can at least keep up with, you know, Tier Shizu for like several turns, because eventually the deck will outgrind this deck, so you just have to be very smart with when you make your pushes and stuff like that, because that deck can literally grind every single turn. This can go like maybe 4 turns back, like back and forth, before we eventually run out of resources, and that deck can literally just go forever. So you kind of just have to figure out like the momentum of the match, the time of the match, like the skill level that you have with the deck, that your opponent has with the deck, stuff like that, and kind of like what to look for, and just stuff like that. And so like if I'm going first, like let's say with this hand right here or something like that, like if it's game one, if I know I'm again going against tier, like this is one thing I will say, like not to do like a whole test hand, but I like to hold on to the Bystials until I know my opponent's not on a Shizu tier. And so like there are some scenarios where like let me show you. Like if I had let's see. If I had Sarnier in hand, let's say for example, if I wasn't going against that deck, if I was just going against, I don't know, some other combo like Dragon Link or something, when I activate Opening, I'm pitching this, and I'm going with my plays from there because I want to resolve this effect, you know, probably send this and do whatever. But what I like to do is I like to hold these as long as possible. Like if I don't know what I'm playing against, I'll just hold the Bystials just in case my opponent who's on a Shizu tier didn't draw anything to activate on my turn, or they're just saving it for their turn. And because the value that these offer are just they're just too much. And so basically what you use these cards as in any other matchups, especially Sarnier, is just kind of like utility to like make really cool plays to like, you know, resolve like the Brand Fusion Lost combo more often and stuff like that, and sending the trap. So like if I'm playing one of my friends who's playing the deck, like I don't care like how much I can plus by like pitching this off Opening. I'm never pitching this off Opening because I want this card in my hand and I'm going for there. So like if I'm playing against one of my friends who is playing the deck, like I might be right at this point I might want to be like, okay, like do I even want to activate Opening? Like I might even be tempted to do something like this. Like I could just activate Opening, pitch the Aluber, and then grab like a Tragedy, let's say something like that. And then what I could do is, you know, shuffle that, activate the Allure, you know, draw 2 cards, and then, you know, pitch the Tragedy, get a Tragedy search. You know, let's say I grab like, it doesn't really matter for this, you know, a Dramaturge or something, and just go from there. Like, but yes, I could have done like some other combos where like, you know, I send something off the trap or whatever, but I just really want to keep this in hand because if my opponent opened really cracked and they're going to do a lot on my turn, I need something that's like proactive on my turn. And so like I always hold these until I kind of know what my opponent's on or something like that. And I honestly think that's the correct way you have to go about it, just because that deck is so oppressive. Like this deck, yes, this deck is ridiculous. This deck's still insane. Like this deck just continues to get better, but that deck is, I'd argue, close to tier 0. I'd call it 0.5. And so like I'd say this is definitely tier 1. And so even that little bit of difference it has, like you really have to be on it when it comes to cards like Bystials and stuff like that. So what I would kind of advise kind of going into that matchup is kind of like, you know, prioritize the Bystials and stuff like that. Don't just you know, pitch them for, you know, ridiculous reasons because you want to plus in different ways. Like you want to, you know, don't just discard this off an Albion. I mean, off a Lubellion or something like that. Like, yes, you'll get the effect and you can plus kind of, but the value you hold by keeping cards like this in your hand are just huge. And kind of depending on, again, like the skill level of the player you're playing against and stuff like that. Like, that kind of depends like what you side against the deck. Like going first, well, what it sucks is like usually when I play against tier Shizu, usually my matches go like either 2 of them I get 2-0'd or it's 1-1. Rarely does it go to game 3 for a bunch of reasons, but I did side these at a recent tournament, which came in clutch for me. Not even just against that deck and specifically, but this won me some matches. I've been trying out Shifter. I'm still not sure how I feel about Shifter. I just wanted another like really oppressive card that I could side in against that matchup because there was a time when I was just trying out different cards aside and I put in like 3 evenlies against that deck, and to me it's just not worth it because everyone's playing like some people like I forgot what the name is, like a Gita or whatever, they one of the Mill 5s, they were taking it out because they were just worried about like if they play against the mirror and, you know, letting the opponent plus too much. And so when they stopped playing that, like I was like, okay, let me try putting in like floodgates like this again, because a lot of my deck isn't getting milled anymore. And so like I tried this out for a bit and it was okay, but it wasn't great. Um, and then now everyone's kind of going back to it, been like, okay, whatever, like either way, if you're playing the mirror, it's going to just come down to skill anyway. So they're just playing that because then it makes your matchup against Flunder a lot better too, because you do want to get cards in their graveyard anyway. And so this card doesn't really do anything against that anymore. I will kind of fill you guys in too on a change I did make. Let me get these out of the way. For those of you who stuck around for this part of the video, one change I did make in real life is I tried out for the first time. I took Super Poly out the main and I swapped them for droplets. And so I did this because I was expecting a lot of Flunder at this last tournament, and I only drew this card like once, and it was against like a Marincess deck. I think it was like a game one or something like that, and it was okay. I actually dodged all the Flunder at the tournament, which was kind of funny because I literally made this change just for that. So it's just one of those things, like, and I don't really want to play both of these cards because I don't want too many cards I have to discard, especially since I'm not playing like the Edgem stuff anymore, stuff like that. But I did realize that I needed some main deck hate to Flunder, and so I just threw these in the side. There were several times I did side back into these, because, you know, Super Poly is just insane, but it's just something I'm kind of messing with. But when it comes to like the tier Shizu deck, like I didn't want to just not talk about it in this video because that's, you know, that's the best deck of the format, and that's really the only deck that you really need to test a lot for. So basically, like, my final thoughts are: learn the cards just like with any deck, and find ways that your deck, whether you're playing this or not, has strengths against it and weaknesses, and then whatever the weaknesses are, find something that can like address that in the main deck and stuff like that. And then sometimes you just have to be okay with the fact that, you know, that deck is way better than your deck. But I built this deck in a way that I believe is like the best way to play it, and I side accordingly. And you just kind of got to pick up on just the little nuances of the game and just like realize like what made you lose in certain scenarios, especially when it didn't come down to like a skill level thing. If it came down to luck or if it came down to whatever, just kind of find out like why you lost to that, why you lost to the deck and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. I really wish I could have made some test hands for this, but that's just impossible without, you know, just straight up having a whole match. I think if I did like, if I tried to do a test hand, it in itself, it'd probably be like 30 plus minutes, which would just be crazy. I think this video will probably already be close to an hour anyway, like the last one, but there's just no way I'm gonna make like a hour and a half long video and do that. But like I said, I did want to address that deck because it is the best deck in the game, and you can't make a deck or play a deck right now without addressing that. So I hope you enjoyed the video. I'm going to probably switch up my deck and play some new stuff. I'm thinking there's like 2 or 3 decks I have in mind that I want to play now. And depending on how that goes, I'll kind of make deck profiles about that, because I've just been loving this deck so much that I've just been, you know, spewing content with this. And so I kind of want to switch it up, have some fun playing some other stuff. And yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.